The following is a special presentation of Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Live from the Riverside Centroplex in Baton Rouge, Louisiana Public Broadcasting and the 4th Congressional District Classroom presents Colin Powell on the future of today's youth.
Wow. I want to thank you, Aaron, for that most beautiful rendition. I sure hope you're headed to Broadway, my dear. That was terrific. Congratulations to you. And Stacy, I'd like to thank you for that very, very kind introduction. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this afternoon with you all. And Mrs. Fields, I'm very pleased that you are hosting this in the absence of the Congressman, and Mayor McHugh, thank you for being here as well. I bring you greetings from your Congressman, Cleo Fields, earlier today. He was supposed to join me on an airplane to come down here, and he was there at the airport in Washington. And he was one of the more tortured persons I've ever seen in my life because he was caught between two conflicting objectives. He wanted very, very much to be here with you this afternoon, his beloved kids, his favorite program, this Congressional Classroom. But duty called. There was an important vote in Washington, and he was torn as we sat in the airplane, and I finally looked at my watch and I said, Cleo, my friend, we got to do something here. And he said, tell my youngsters I really, really wanted to be with them, but based on what we have done together over the years, they will understand that I have to go where duty calls. And so he stayed in Washington to make his important vote later this evening. But I want you to know that he sends his love to you as always. When Congressman Fields and I started talking about the possibility of my coming here and talking to this group, I was very excited about it, and it was almost 2 years ago, and we had to find the right opportunity when I would be in this area. And last fall, after I made some decisions about my political life, I called Cleo and I said, Cleo, you know, I'm a Republican. Is it still okay for me to go down to your district? He says, you can come on down. Even the mayor's a Republican now. And so this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with Congressman Fields and Mayor McHugh and Colin Powell caring about young people, caring about you all. And so nothing would stop me from being here with you today, and I want to thank you, not only those of you in the colored T-shirts who are part of the Congressional Classroom, but all the other young people present who came from other parts of the state, and all the parents who are present. And a special greeting to the youngsters who are watching this via the courtesy of Louisiana Public Television. It's really great to be here. And I wish all of you could be up here on the stand looking back at yourselves, because you look so terrific, so proud, so dedicated, the kind of youngsters that make me so proud to have an opportunity to share a few moments with. As part of the assignment for today, members of the Congressional Classroom were given copies of my book. And this is not a promotional, but this is the book that they were given copies of. And I want to show you the front of the book, because this is how most people know me. General Powell, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, guy who had 4 stars on his shoulder, a guy who was privileged to become the senior person in the armed forces of the United States, to work for 3 presidents, President Reagan, President Bush, President Clinton, who was privileged to represent all the wonderful young men and women who served in the armed forces of the United States. And this is the guy that some of you may have seen in television over the years. But this is not the guy that I really want to talk to the young people about today. It's on the back of the book. This is the guy. Because in the back of the book is a young kid about 9 years old, very badly dressed up for one of those pictures that your parents make you take from time to time. There I am, complete in this scratchy suit with a little handkerchief flopping out of my pocket and knee pants. I insisted that when we printed this picture, it was cut off here so that you couldn't see my bony knees going all the way down my bare legs. But this is the young person I want to talk to you about, because the point I want to make to you today is I didn't start out here, I started out there. I started out as a young boy living in an inner city neighborhood, a young black kid living in an inner city neighborhood in New York City who was a rather ordinary kid. There was nothing special about me as I was growing up. I did so-so in school. I was subject to all the temptations that exist in an inner city neighborhood. And yet, from that background, I was able to come out and go into my chosen field, which happened to be the military. And I did that at a time when the military was the only institution in American society where a black kid from such a background could enter an integrated part of American society and rise to the top. It was a time when we had, by law, second-class citizenship. It was a difficult time with few opportunities, and the opportunity I took was the opportunity available to me through the military. Now, what was it about my background? What was it that I was able to get in my childhood, either from my parents, my teachers, or I was able to develop myself, that gave me the tools that I needed to enter the Army and have a successful career which led me to the top? I've thought about this a lot. I've thought about it a very great deal, and I tried to capture what it all was in the first part of my book. And in the first part of my book, I describe my upbringing, and I describe the value system that was given to me by my parents and by the other adults in my life, aunts and uncles and the teachers that were with me in school, the minister of my church, my older sister, all of the cousins that I grew up with, the value system that essentially put me on the road to success. And the first element of that value system that I got from this extended family of mine, but especially from my parents, was to understand the difference between right and wrong. A simple statement, but a profound statement that I want to share a little bit about with you this afternoon. In my family, there was an expectation that you would always do the right thing, because we had taught you what the right thing was, your conscience taught you what the right thing was, and you would always stay away from the wrong things, from the temptations that faced me every day when I came out of that tenement and went on the street. The temptation to get into bad company, the temptation to do drugs, the temptation to not go to school, the temptation to find the wrong things in life to do. And in my family, in the environment I grew up in, it was made clear to me that we don't expect you, we will never allow you to do things that will hurt you, and the things that you can do wrong are the things that will hurt you. We will not allow you, we do not expect you to do anything that will bring shame upon yourself. Be proud of yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't do anything which would shame you, hurt you, or most importantly, bring shame upon the family, bring shame upon the community that you're a part of. There was very little gray in my family. And so it was from that set of expectations about right and wrong, I learned that it was wrong to lie, to cheat, to steal. It was wrong to do drugs. It was wrong to do drugs, and there were many opportunities to do drugs in my neighborhood. It is not something that has just come on the scene. When I was a young kid your age, some 40 years ago, drugs were all over New York City. It had just started, and it was bad, and the temptation was there. And I never did drugs. Not only because my parents would have been terribly disappointed, but I knew early in life that doing drugs was stupid. The stupidest thing I could do in the face of the earth, for some very simple reasons. God and my parents had given me a life, given me a sober beginning. And to do drugs was to do harm to my own body. To do drugs was stupid because it led nowhere. It led to jail. It led to a hospital. It led to the graveyard. It led to a life of failure. And so I never did drugs because it was stupid. And one message I want to leave with you today about staying away from those things that are wrong and tempting is to stay away from drugs in whatever form it shows up. It is stupid. It is hurtful. It is shameful. And it will not allow you to pursue a road to excellence, a road to success. This is one of the first orders you're getting this afternoon from the general. Listen carefully. You all know how to take orders? Don't do drugs. It's stupid. Stay away from anybody who does. Stay away from anyone who tries to tempt you. Secondly, my parents taught me, and my community taught me, and my teachers and ministers taught me that life is precious, that everybody deserves what the Declaration of Independence set out for you: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everybody's life is precious to that person's person's parents. And so one of the worst things you could do, one of the wrongest things you could do, is to show any violence toward any other person. Respect the right of everybody else to live in peace, to go to school in peace. Stay away from violence. Stay away from guns. Learn to mediate disputes among yourself. Stay away from anybody who seems to turn to violence as a solution to problems. And that is the way for you to keep going in the right direction, to stay away from that which is wrong. There was another value system that my parents put into me, a value element, really, that had to do with a belief in God. My parents made clear to me, and the others in my family made clear to me, that we were not here alone, that we were part of a greater purpose, and that there was something greater in life than us. And we should use the influence of a God, however you saw that God, to set your course in life and to learn how to stay on the right side and avoid the wrong side. From this family of mine, I also received a value system that said hard work and education go together. We don't care if you are just a little black kid growing up in the Bronx. You can go anywhere you want. You can reach any level you want to, as long as you're willing to work hard for it and as long as you're willing to study for it. And so in my upbringing, and this is something you all have to learn as well, and I know you're learning it now. It's one of the reasons you're here today. There is no substitute for hard work. And hard work means studying hard. I love to tell the story of the 3 ditch diggers who had a job to dig ditches. That was their job. And one guy was always leaning on his shovel, saying, one of these days I'm going to own this company. But he didn't do much digging. Just leaned on his shovel all day long. One of these days I'm going to own this company. The second guy always found reasons why he shouldn't dig as much as he should dig, or why he wasn't feeling well, or he showed up late and he says, boss is hassling me. I don't really feel like coming to work today. I'm only going to do as much as I have to do to get by. And the third fella, he just kept his mouth shut and he dug away. That's what he was supposed to do, that he was being paid to do. He dug. And he dug and he dug and he dug. Time goes by, a year or so. You take a look at these 3 fellows. The first guy's still leaning on his shovel, saying, one of these days I'm going to own this company. The second fellow's still complaining about how his back hurts and how he didn't want to come to work this morning. Third fellow's now got a backhoe. He's digging a little easier. Time goes by. First fellow's still leaning on that shovel, talking about what's going to happen in the future. One of these days I'm going to own this company. Second fellow's retired on, some get-over disability. He just doesn't want to work anymore. And the third fellow now owns the company. Now, the moral in all this is you may not end up owning the company, but there is no substitute for hard work. There is no substitute for any job you get in life to do the very best you can, because somebody will always be watching you, measuring you, seeing if you are somebody who is dedicated, somebody who puts all your energy into the work before you. One of the first jobs I ever had was mopping floors in a large factory where they made cola. And when you mop a big factory floor as big as the floor in this auditorium today, you're doing some serious mopping. And when someone drops 50 cases of Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola all over the floor of a factory, and they give you a mop and tell you to mop it up, you are doing some very serious mopping. And that was one of the first jobs I had as a young teenager, and I mopped and I mopped and I mopped. And at the end of that summer, when I was in summers, it was during between classes, between terms in the summer, when I was through that summer, the foreman came to me and said, well, Colin, you turned into a pretty good mop man. And I said, well, thank you, sir. You certainly gave me enough opportunity to learn. And he said, you want to come back next summer? I said, to do what? He said, we're going to put you on a machine because we think you have shown enough here that we're going to give you a chance to do something more. No job is without dignity. No job should be seen as below your dignity. No job should be seen as anything other than an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to perform so that you can get ready for another job that's coming. The next element of this value system I want to leave with you today has to do with education. You all know what I'm talking about. In this new world that you're entering, education is more important than ever. And I got bad news for you young people sitting here. It isn't going to end soon. You're going to be educating yourself for the rest of your lives to stay on top of a very rapidly changing world. You've got to learn to read. You've got to learn to write well. You've got to learn to speak well. You've got to learn your math. You've got to learn some science. You've got to learn your history. You've got to learn computers. And above all, you have got to get that high school diploma as a minimum. The most important event in my young life was graduating from high school. People say to me, well, you know, it couldn't have been the most important event. I say, yes, it was. Once I graduated from high school, I was on my way somewhere. I didn't know yet if I was really going to college or I was going to go off and go to work somewhere. But without that entry-level education of high school, I was on my way to nowhere. It's even more important now. In the armed forces that I recently left, we really don't even want you in our armed forces unless you graduated from high school. Why? Because with that high school education, you're bringing in skills that we can build upon. You've gotten a basic education that we can build upon. But more importantly, if you finished high school, it meant that you went there, you stuck with it. On those days you thought the teacher was down on you, you went anyway. On those days when you didn't really want to do it, when you felt like quitting, you didn't quit, you stayed with it. On those days when you didn't have your tests ready or you didn't do as well as you thought you did, you still didn't quit, you stuck with it. So by finishing high school, you get the entry-level education you need, and moreover, you demonstrate to the world that you are not a quitter, and you stuck with it. So another order from the General this afternoon. I want each and every one of you to make a commitment that you will not break, that you will stay in school, get that education, and finish high school as an absolute minimum so that you can be on your way to somewhere. Otherwise, you're on your way to nowhere. I want you to put in your heart a love of yourself. I want you to have the kind of self-esteem and self-confidence that my teachers helped me get. People ask me all the time now, well, who were your role models when you were growing up? And I can name a few. You know, Jackie Robinson had come along at that time, the first black baseball player, and there was General Marshall and General Patton. And there were a few role models out there that I could look up to. But the real role models in my life at that time were my parents, who cared for me. And perhaps the most important role model I had in my life at that time was the teacher who was waiting for me every day. I want you youngsters to realize what a gift you have been given with your education system, and especially with the teachers who show up every day. Teachers who get up, take care of their families, and then come to school every day to give you the gift of their experience, the gift of their learning, and to put what they have into you. It is the greatest gift you will ever receive. It is the most valuable thing you will ever receive for free in your life, and I hope you treasure it. But at the end of the day, you have to be your own role model. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be prepared to take this entry-level education and go as far as your dreams and your willingness to work hard will take you. People ask me all the time, well, you know, General Powell, when you were a young kid in the South Bronx, did you dream one day you'd grow up to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? I said, yeah, there I was. A little black kid standing on the corner of 163rd Street in Kelly saying, I believe I'm going to grow up and be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I was just dreaming I'd get out of 6th grade. But it all comes. It all comes with believing in yourself, working hard, valuing the teachers who are sharing with you every day, doing that which is right, staying away from that which is wrong. It's as simple as that. You all know that sex at this age of your life is wrong. You should know that you have got a wonderful life ahead of you. Don't try to do it too fast. Don't be pressured into doing things that you know are not right for you at this time. The last thing I want you to have in this value system of yours is faith in America. Faith in this great country that you are now just learning about as citizens of this country, especially through this wonderful congressional classroom. But as you grow up, and if you have the opportunity to travel around the world as I have, you come back to this country marveling time and again as to what a marvelous place it is. A marvelous place where a young kid such as I was many years ago could look out and only dream that it might be possible from my humble background and my minority status to go all the way to the top in this one profession that was open to me. And to see a country that removed all the barriers that were in my way in the course of my 35 years of service. And to know now that there are so many, many more opportunities for young people than there were when I was coming up, especially young people who are minorities. And so the only thing that I can ask of you today is to take advantage of that which we who went before you have been able to achieve. We climbed, we worked hard in order to create this great country that we will be giving to you in due course and that you will be responsible for it and responsible for its future. It's a country with problems, it's a country with concerns, it's a country with problems that you will help solve. And you will help solve them by making yourself the best citizens you know how to be, by working hard, by studying hard, by believing in yourselves, and above all, believing in this marvelous country that you have been blessed to be born in and to be citizens of. So that's my message for you. Love this country, love yourselves, do the right thing, be proud of yourselves, stay away from the wrong things, listen to your teachers, take in the knowledge that they are giving to you, and be ready for a future that is bright, a future that is waiting for you, a future in this great country that God has blessed and we are proud to call America. Thank you very much, and now we'll take some questions. Good. Thank you. Okay. Now we're setting up microphones, and there's a microphone on each side aisle, so I think you'll line up behind them, and we have a young man ready with the first question.
My name is Jacinthus Guerin. I know you had many obstacles to overcome. This is my question. What was your most challenging obstacle and how did you overcome it?
Come up here. What was my most challenging obstacle and how was I able to overcome it? You know, I can't think of any one. Getting out of school was not easy for me, but I overcame that one. Going through paratrooper school and ranger school and the challenges of fighting a war such as Desert Storm, the challenges of getting through 2 years in Vietnam, all of those were obstacles that I had to overcome. But the point I'd like to make to you is that every day comes with obstacles. Every day comes with obstacles, and as young people, you have to learn to deal with obstacles every day and experience some disappointment and failure. And the important thing about life is to face obstacles equipped to deal with them by educating yourself, by doing the things that I've talked to you about today, and by always believing in yourself. And when you face one of those obstacles, if you don't succeed at first, if you have some disappointment or something goes wrong, don't be put off by it. Don't walk away. Learn from your failure. Learn from your disappointment. Learn, what did I do wrong? What do I have to do different tomorrow? And when you go back after that obstacle tomorrow, you can knock it down. You can get over it. Never be disappointed. Never find failure to be something that you hang on to or linger over. Just learn what you did wrong, examine it carefully, learn your lesson, and then move on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's try over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, General Powell.
Hi.
My name is Iva Perry, and I attend Scotlandville Magnet High School. My question for you is, if you would have run for president and would have been elected, what would your goal be for our country?
It's the same goal I have not as president and not being a politician. It's a goal I have as a citizen who cares deeply about this country and the citizens of this country. And that is to get this country back on a moral azimuth that gives us a direction to move in, a direction that says we have slipped away. There is too much shouting and incivility and violence in our lives. There is the lack of a sense of purpose in the country right now, and that's something we have to do. We have to come up with a vision for the country, a vision that says we have to keep the economy growing in order to create jobs, in order to generate wealth, because from wealth you get jobs, and jobs then give you the opportunity to generate more wealth. But we have to do it in a way that does not put our citizens who are in greatest need at even greater disadvantage. We have to do it in a way that shows we are a compassionate people and a compassionate nature. And I think one of the things we see happening in our political life now is all of our political leaders are looking for that right balance between that which the government does and that which private enterprise does. And so I think all citizens, and not just presidents and governors and mayors, have to sort of slow down, stop screaming at each other, realize that the Cold War we were in for many, many years is over, and start to create a new moral azimuth for the future. An azimuth that says, as a nation, we have to start doing that which is right for all of our fellow citizens. As a nation, we have to start rejecting those things we know are wrong. Discrimination, racism, prejudice. We know that's all wrong. Violence in our cities, violence in our schools. We know that's wrong. Keeping some of our citizens trapped in structural poverty so that they aren't able to believe in the American dream. We know that's wrong, and we have to fix it. So I think the problems of the future require visions that get us back on that goal of an American journey toward the accomplishment and achievement of American dreams, and away from the sort of incivility, shouting, and some of the nastier influences that have come into American life. Things such as the afternoon talk shows where the worst kind of depravity is presented to the American citizens as entertainment, and we put up with it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, General Colin Powell. My name is Justin Payne, and this is my question. How did the study of geology rather than engineering help to strengthen your profession and then enable you to become a general of the United States Army?
Your question was, how did my study of engineering and geology help me become a general in the Army? Not too much. When I went into college, I started in engineering. I was studying engineering because in the 50s, when I entered college, that was the field that everybody said you should go into. Country needs lots of engineers. But I discovered after 6 months that I wasn't going to be a very good engineer. It wasn't what I liked doing. It wasn't what I thought I was going to love doing. And one point I would make to you is wherever you end up in life, make sure you end up in a job, in a trade, in an occupation where you really love what you're doing and you do it well. And for me, that wasn't engineering, so I shifted to geology. But geology wasn't it either. What I discovered, though, was ROTC, the military. And in my cadet training in ROTC, and you saw some ROTC cadets earlier with the color guard, that's what I did well, and that's what I love doing. And so I used my geology education and my little bit of engineering education to help me get a degree. I stayed in college and got the degree, but I also got my commission in the Army, and from then on in, I stayed in an Army career, and I think the nation has benefited because I did not try to find oil or build houses, but stayed in the Army.
Good afternoon, General Powell. My name is Doria Moore, and I attend Scotlandville Magnet High School. I would like to know, what is your main reason you decided not to run for presidency?
There were two sets of reasons that interacted. After I finished my book tour last fall and really finished 35 years of the Army and then 2 intense years working on my book, my family and I then had time to sit down and think carefully and prayerfully about what I would do with the next phase of my life. And after a 3-week period of introspection and thinking about it, perhaps the most difficult 3 weeks I've ever spent on anything, it concluded 2 things. One, for family reasons, my family having served in the military for over 30 years, and there was no desire on their part to once again enter the full glare of public life. Those family considerations suggested that entering politics was not the right choice for me. The other set of considerations were that I'd been a soldier for 35 years, and I knew what soldiering was all about, and it was something I did well, I loved doing, and I could bring a daily passion and commitment to. And after just 2 years out of the military, spending most of my time writing a book, I really did not believe, the depth of my heart, that I had that same commitment or passion, the kind of commitment and passion you really, really have to have if you're going to be successful in politics, and if you're going to do well, if you're going to serve the American people well in politics. And I can compliment and congratulate those men and women who do go into politics and find that to be their passion and their calling and their commitment, and they want to do that with all their heart and soul and energy. But it wasn't where I found myself in my life. And if there's one thing I fully understood, is that I had to do what I thought was right for me and what I thought was right for my family. And it had to be that and not what other people wanted me to do. And the lesson I would turn this into for you is always try to be honest with yourself and to yourself in the choices you make about what you do with your life in the future. And that's what I tried to do. And for me to have done something different, to enter politics when I really didn't think it was right for me or for my family, would have been a disservice to the nation, I think, and a disservice to me and my family. And so for that reason, I decided not to enter politics in 1996. Whether I'll enter in the future or what I will do in the future remains to be seen. Why close off doors before they're opened? And so I'm finding other ways to serve the country by sitting on the boards of such things as the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, the United Negro College Fund, Howard University, Children's Health Fund of New York, and a lot of other similar efforts. So I'm finding a way to serve, and I will be around in one capacity or another, but I will not be in politics in 1996.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, General Colin Powell. My name is Rashawn Denise Payton. I am a 1996 graduate of Scotlandville Magnet High School, and I'm pleased to ask you, do you believe you have achieved all of your goals, and if not, which ones have you yet to achieve?
I don't have a list of goals. It's a question I get often saying, what were your ambitions and what were your goals as you went through the Army? And I'm not without ambition. I always sort of said, well, gosh, I'd like to be promoted, or I'd like to command at a higher level, or I would like to serve in this place or that place. But the goal that really fueled me, that really, really drove me, is how to do the very best job I can with the job I have right now. How can I knock this one dead and get the satisfaction of a job well done today, as opposed to dreaming about some satisfaction in the future from some other job that comes along. And so I never had a list of goals that I had to scratch off, and I have none left. I was privileged to go through every level in the armed forces. When I entered the Army, they really said to me, we guarantee that you can hang around for about 20 years, and we'll retire you then probably as Lieutenant Colonel. And if you go any higher than that, anything above that is just, you ought to be very, very fortunate, but we don't owe it to you. Well, as it turned out, I did do that, and they kept promoting me. And every new job was a new opportunity, new objectives there before me, which I was able to accomplish. So when I retired from the Army, I really had no goals unattained. I tried to do the very best job I could in every job I had at every level, and not be driven by the next job or some goal that is some distance in the future. Do the best you can today. Prepare yourself for what comes tomorrow. Think about the day after tomorrow, and dream about a few weeks in the future. Don't get them confused. Don't dream about what you're doing today. Always take care of today's business today with all the energy that you have to muster. Keep some goals out there. But I must say that I got most of my satisfaction from the job that I was in at the time I was in it.
How are you, General Powell? My name is Leanne Goins, and I attended Schuylerville Magnet High School. Being general, as your job, I know that you've had some hard times, and what I would like to know is, what is the one thing or things that has brought you through these experiences?
You have to have more than one thing available to you to take you through hard times. First, you have to have the preparation and the training and the education needed to deal with the hard time and problem that you're facing. Two, you have to have the energy and the dedication and the motivation to do it. Three, you have the self-confidence. You have to have the self-confidence that you need to do it. You have to have faith in your own ability. And then you have to have a certain level of trust in the people who are around you, and a belief that you can prevail. And you have to have a belief that you can overcome obstacles, the first question. You have to have the ability to take failure and do something with it. As I have gone through life and faced the obstacles and barriers and other impediments that have come along, I have been set back constantly. And the thing on top of all the things I just mentioned, the thing that really allowed me to keep moving forward was to have taught myself how to deal with failure. To have taught myself that when failure comes, get mad quickly and then forget about being mad. And then look at yourself coldly and say, why did I fail? Why did I blow this test? Why did I fail to accomplish this mission? What did I do wrong? Don't look for what somebody else did wrong. Don't look what somebody else did to you. What did I do wrong? What did I fail to anticipate and prepare for? And then I squeeze that, learn it, memorize it, gain the experience from that, and then face the obstacle again and try to prevail again. And so you need a full range of tools to deal with the obstacles that come along. And I think the one tool that was most valuable to me is the ability to learn from failure and how to fix myself from failure. Once you've learned all you can from a disappointment or a failure, throw it away. Throw it away. Forget about it. I know too many people in life, too many people I've come across over the years who had a failure last year or something went wrong 5 years ago, and they still want to tell me about it. They still want to ignore what they could be doing today because they'd rather talk about a failure that occurred 5 years ago as opposed to just learning from it and tossing it behind you. So, hard work, facing reality, having faith in yourself, trusting the people who are around you, and learning from failure, and then throwing failure behind you and driving on forward, confident in your ability to prevail.
Thank you.
This has been a great session, and I want to thank you all for coming today. I want to thank the parents for their support of this program. I want to thank the mayor for the hospitality of the city, Mrs. Fields for your courtesies today as well, and for especially the teachers who pour out their love into these youngsters and their experience into these youngsters. And in his absence, I want to thank Congressman Fields for having invited me to be back down in this wonderful part of the country. God bless you all. Have a great day.